All right. Hello, hello. Welcome everyone. Welcome everybody. Stream is starting. We are just preparing to enter the 7 a.m. New York time pre-market session on Wednesday. Good morning, Mr. Anastolini. And yeah, as mentioned or tickled you in the Telegram channel, what my attention is focused on today. When price was around here, I posted that I'm interested in those relative equal highs. We've done a pretty nice job running towards that, and also the buy side liquidity here that I labeled as London high. That's also something that has my interest on the upside. So basically those two buy side liquidity pools is where I think we might want to reach today, and who knows, maybe it will blow through it and go further, aiming for all-time highs or something like that. But at this point, I don't want to read too deep into it. All right, so we did closed above this last inefficiency prior to those relative equal highs. So now I'm watching whether it can offer any support to the matter here and offer a run on the buy side liquidity here. So let's see. Yep. We are also doing the first macro for the pre-market session, so I'm holding high expectation that it should, or it could likely smash right on through it. That's kind of what I'm thinking right now. So we'll see what we get. Nonetheless, yesterday price proved that it really wants to go higher, and it still has some room to go higher. Therefore, I'm willing to allow for that, basically. Alright, trading down into this as potential inversion, bullish inversion for value gap that could send us higher, clearing out the buy side. Let me extend this box here. Not that far. Yikes, looks like I'm losing battery in my mouse here. Ay, annoying. Looks like I will need to be using the pad, the touchpad. Alright. So far it traded down into it here. Bodies failed to close lower. We are hanging around just underneath those relative equal highs here. Alright, so as it was touching it here to the low, I was seeking to enter there, and I'm looking for this to offer support for the price and send us higher. So this would be the best case scenario for me, and these relative equal highs here and the buy side above it would be like a partial type of idea. So let's see how it goes. I like this inefficiency to present support for the price. So yeah, as long as we are above the consecutive encroachment line or level with the bodies, and the price isn't really allowed to go lower here, I believe that's a reasonable idea though. Alright, so we did touch into the lower half, and now it needs to show rejection out of it. Right, it even closed below it slightly here. So this candle here next needs to be responsive. If it's not, I'll be closing the trade. Yeah, so far so good. I like this reaction or response. That's responsive. Closing above this inversion is ideal. That's what I'm looking for. And I'll treat it as a moho. That should send us still higher here. Alright, slight close above it, then gap higher, and in my opinion it's important for the price now to show that it wants to move in some speed manner. So because we already went to the lower half, we rejected that, that's fine. Now we really need to stay in the upper half, and that's all good to send it and clear out the buy side here as a near term, and maybe reach up into the buy side here. Indecisive candle here, so this one I'm really watching to touch the low as it did and expand higher. All right, so what signature I want to see is take out this short-term high. That's what I'm looking for. I want to just take it ASAP, and that would be indicative of that I'm on side. If we can obviously stay above it and not like reject it, right? So it shouldn't reject it. We did take it out right here, and I want to see now continue to clear out the buy side. Okay. We are too close, and it's too obvious of a pool of liquidity not to just smash right on through it, I believe, especially with all of the backdrop here. But nonetheless, we did closed below this high, so now we have a premium wick right here, and it's very important to overtake it quickly. All right, so this is the moment, this is the time where price really needs to do stuff and really like close strong at the highs and disrespect any premium arrays, right? Taking this high, that's positive, that's good. Preferably close anywhere in the upper half of that wick would be reasonable. I don't like this pulling back here. I don't like that. So this was kind of like indecisive candle here. So the next one really has to perform and show a close higher. Again, because we are so close to the buy side, it should really be snapping into it in no time. But again, showing somewhat of a rejection here. I don't like to see that. I trim the stop loss to the right below the consecutive encroachment here, reducing the risk. And I will be taking one off if we can take the buy side here and then moving to break even. So I'll be selling one at the market if we can poke above it. A dodgy, indecisive candle like this, in my opinion, promotes the idea that it should just smash right on through it on the next candle or two, because that's usually like a retail reversal here at supposed resistance. So I would really like to see like a solid, strong up move afterwards. Alright, so looks like we are touching the buy side now. There we go. Alright, so one taken off at the buy side there, and now stop loss to even, covering commission cost. and let's see if we can get anything um, anything done afterwards. So yeah, because I was entering so high into the curve on this side, right? It was if I took those relative equal highs to low, I was like in the upper quadrant entering, and these are the entries that are more like a scalp type of ideas, but less likely to offer a significant run afterwards, nonetheless taking into consideration that the price was wilting higher like crazy recently. We could see some follow through, but if not, that's also fine. That was just like a little scalp idea from this inversion to the buy side. That was it. So yeah, it looks like it wants to retrace back inside of this range, which would be like reasonable and fine. Regardless of what happens, this is like a free look for some higher prices. Yeah, so it took me out here. Fair enough, fair enough. With what we had in the price, it delivered fairly like reasonable. So yeah, I'll be watching now price still, how it goes. How it goes and what we do. That was a rather shallow run on the relative equal highs, and it was done only on a week basis, and that's usually not sufficient enough as a valid ride on the liquidity, right? So this kind of still stays in place, and now I'm watching whether it will want to maybe retrace deeper to some degree. We have some trend line phantom type of sell side here, which is being approached at this moment. So I wouldn't be surprised if that would like fail in the near term and offer some deeper retracement. We have still this inversion for value gap here, coupled with this premium week or discount week, as we are above it. And yeah, that's what I'm watching now. But yeah, still I don't think we are done or we are finished with the buy side here. All right, so far nicely reaching into this trend line sell side liquidity that was built up. There was really no stop run along the way, so that's reasonable, I would say. Fairly reasonable. It did fail to touch or take out this short-term low here, but it did take out this one and this one, so by definition that's technically enough. But let's see, because we traded outside of this inversion for valley gap here and now coming back into it. Right, so the body's staying inside of it, that's nice. And this could be, if we could like trade out above it again here, then touch it as support, that could be maybe constructive for higher. Still, I personally, because we left those relative equal lows like this, I would personally like clear this out first and then maybe offer like higher, but yeah, we'll see. Because the general rule of thumb is that if you have like those relative equal lows like this, it's hard to trust to go long, even if there is a discount array. It's hard to trust because they could always like make a little bit of manipulation, a little bit of stop rate below those lows. That's always in the cards when it's like that. So yes, maybe it could go higher from here, but at the same time it could make a stop run on the lows here as well, which makes it tricky, more tricky. And yeah, so yeah, probably if I entered here and it did the stop run and came back higher, then I could have been maybe re-entering and still target higher. But because there was no real stop run since the 7 a.m., we just poked slightly above those highs and we now left those relative equal lows. So it kind of looks convenient to just take it out, but yeah, we'll see though, we'll see. Let's not plan too far into the future here, and let's see, because the moment it becomes problematic and you need to like argue too many things, too many sides, then it's kind of like a sign or signature that we are kind of like losing the plot and maybe shifting into some lower probability environment. So yeah, it did trade it above this inversion for valley gap. There is also a small SIB here, so that's something to watch there. If it's bullish here, this should work as inversion, and the upper half of this should be highly respected because we already went below it. Body stayed inside, that's alright, but now it needs to prove that it respects the upper half, right? But going long here, you would need to put a stop probably below the consecutive encroachment of this week, which is super close to the relative equal lows here, and usually you don't want to do that, right? But yeah, that might be the case when it works, but even if it does, then that's not something that you want to do anyway, because more times than not they will come back for those lows. Even if this will not do that, more times than not, in my experience, they do that. So right, looks like they are expanding towards those highs here again for a deeper run, and that's reasonable expectation. We don't have any high impact news scheduled for today, but as far as I know, there is President Trump speaking at some point later today, so that might bring some additional volatility into the marketplace. But yeah, we'll see. So in my mind, this relative equal lows is a very solid area for them to just disturb that liquidity and take it higher. But yeah, we'll see. So far price really like slowed down a lot here, spending time. The buy side here obviously still the most obvious, and as long as price stays above this inversion and this little here, then I favor run on the buy side nonetheless. Yeah, so some measure of speed would be anticipated here. So as we did everything like we did here, we came all the way up, it would need to be like delivering the buy side the next candle or two. If it fails here or starts failing here, then that's kind of problematic. I mean, then we might see those relative equal lows. Close below the consecutive encroachment here, so that's already not ideal for higher. And now I'm watching this. I'm watching this inversion here. If it wants to maintain a chance to run the buy side from where it is, it needs to respect the upper half on a closing basis. But it's hard to expect that or trust that because we have those relative equal lows here. And that's kind of like what might be in play. Alright, so already price is in the lower half of this inversion. approaching this week. So consecutive encroachment is always a factor here, but because relative equal lows are right below that, liquidity is considerable. We closed below the 50% on a closing basis, but now this strong rejection here is suggesting that they still may want to clear this out and take it quicker and leave the sell side here. Okay, if that's what they want to do, that's fine, but this is a measure of manipulation here. Completely fair enough. So now it has to like offer the run, I would say, and run this short-term high and deeper into the buy side, leaving those relative equal lows for later, engineering sell side here. So yeah, this is this becomes an area which I will doubt as too clean, but on the downside here, right? This is kind of too clean too. So buy side was poked only with a weak still, so no real follow through as it is yet. And again, since the 7 a.m. look what we've done. A little bit up move, a little bit down move, a little bit up move, a little bit down move. Sell side taken, buy side taken. Inside of the range. Hello, Soul Shift. P2P. Welcome, welcome. Alright, so I will annotate this busy here. That's the last fair value gap before taking out this buy side here. So let's see if we move below it, then it might become an inversion fair value gap. Unless this is more of a like a consolidation here again, which yeah, that's kind of tricky at this moment. Poked above the buy side, but only with a week. So that's again, in my opinion, not doing the work there. So this area or this level here, I'm still considering this as a strong draw on price, but preferably I would move to some discount, take some sell side liquidity first, and before a more significant run above those. That's what I would do. So let's see how they are thinking about it. So we have relative equal lows here, and there is a bullish breaker right there. This last up candle, that's a bullish breaker. So we could reasonably take the sell side trade into the breaker, and if respected, then we would then expect a follow through rally here. That's what I would expect. But yeah, so far we are back into this inversion here. Again, relatively low sell side, too clean, failed to make any follow through on the upside here. Kind of makes sense to see it reach below those lows. But yeah, we'll see. Really tight, small little range today so far. So I'm really willing to like dial back a little bit to get a better idea, cleaner read on this, because it's really not doing too much so far, and it's engineering sentiment on both sides at the moment, so there might be some shenanigans being played out here. So again, this inversion from value gap, perfect respect off of the consecutive encroachment, but now this is also an inversion for value gap, but bearish, and it would need to reclaim that on a closing basis, and that could have been like leading to attempt to run higher. But again, I'm not a fan of like doing it inside of this sloppier type of range. But with all of this here, this has everything to make a more significant, more pronounced run and close above the buy side here, right? If it would fail here, I would be honestly very surprised if it did that. So yeah, that would be a warning sign to me. So yeah, it really looks like they moved it like way cleaner and way smoother ahead of the 7 a.m. and after the 7 a.m. they really took it to sloppy consolidation, high resistance type of price action, which is yeah, by definition low probability here. I guess also after this large rally the last 2 days, Monday, Tuesday, some measure of sloppiness, some measure of consolidation type of price action wouldn't be out of cards, right? It's reasonable to expect that too, because now everyone wants to be buying this potentially, because yeah, we are going for the all-time highs, and they made it really obvious that it's very likely that that's what they want, unless proven otherwise. But I believe a lot of people are or will be sold to the idea that it's time to buy, and if that's the case, they have perfect opportunity to play around a little bit and make some lower lows. Why not? Also, um, as long as price stays today in the upper 50% of the previous daily range, I believe higher is the go-to. But only if price would start like losing that area, then I would consider some deeper retracement possible and abandon the idea of up only. But yeah, hello, don't you, Christian? Hello, welcome. Hope you're doing great. All right, so back into this sloppy range here. It did fail to close above the relative equal highs, so very tricky price action here. Very tricky, very high resistance, not giving an easy read. So yeah, I'm pretty much observing the price, watching whether it can move outside of this range or how it does deal inside of it, but nothing in terms of like trade I have in mind. Nothing like that. And it's too tight and too sloppy right now. Welcome, Captain Sink. Welcome on the board, on the ship. We are swimming today to the promised land. So hopefully the buys are liquidity. But yeah, the price action so far isn't really constructive for anything. It's failing to support any bullish idea. It yet has to prove itself to offer any premium sensitivity, because yeah, usually if it's failing to offer any discount sensitivity, that means that it's likely to offer premium sensitivity. Not always, but that's kind of like the likelihood. But yeah, still waiting. The first hour today from the 7 a.m. it's a really small range consolidation type of range. But yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. Gotta wait some time. Gotta wait. If someone sees something in here that he can trust and execute on, then I'm like all for it, right? Do it. Go ahead. But I'm not touching this snake. To me, this is a rattlesnake shaking its tail like it's coming. You're right. By the way, because price is getting slower here, I have a theory. That I want to share with you guys. So, I have read that there is this rumor. All right, we nailed the buy side here, just like that, out of this mess. Yeah, it did, right? And it came back all the way down to it. That's the rattlesnake that I was talking about. That's the rattlesnake. Nice to see that though. Nice to see that while being careful and, you know, on sideline, right? Wow, nice. Looks like a huge, like a stop rate type of idea on the buy side, but at the same time the buy side is still kind of like, you know, open, because that was kind of like an event here, an event that's against the bias. Higher time frame is still bullish, so they are playing dirty today, very dirty. Let's see. I'm not willing to do anything with it right now. If they are pulling shenanigans like this, I give it like 15 minutes to calm down, and let's see what we got. But nonetheless, the theory that I was talking about is that I read the rumors that there is like another plan for peace between USA and Iran, and there is this, like, maybe not deadline, but there is this like rumor that it will be there in the two days from now. So in my opinion, that type of time horizon would land very well with the fact that they could ramp it up into the all-time highs in the next 2 days. Today, tomorrow, up until Friday, probably. And that would be like a perfect excuse for it. And then if that doesn't work, then they can dump it or do whatever, right? But it kind of seems like they might be doing something like that. But yeah, again, after this weak higher for about 50 handles, taking out the buy side liquidity here and clearing this again, but not on the body basis, only with a wick, it came all the way down into this inversion fair value gap here, right? And it touched the consecutive encroachment, but the body stay above the high, which is generally a bullish signature here. And now we are trading again higher, now into this week. So I do want to know the consecutive encroachment of this week, but I don't want to pay too much attention to it at the same time. Like I'm aware of the fact that it happened, it occurred, they did this, and that was a manipulation, a manual shit that they trying to mess around with people here. But because it was like 1 minute candle and this is only a week, there was still no bodies traded here. I still think that this buy side is still open and it might be drawn up into it despite this week, but it kind of makes it a little bit more unruly. The structure is more tricky, but let's see. We did post a close above the relative equal highs here, buy side. So I would say at this point this was like sufficient enough in terms of clearing this out. I will download the image here for the reference, but yeah, I think this is now way more sufficient. So this buy side has been satisfied with this, I believe. Can it still go higher? Sure, but I'm not using this as a draw anymore. We do have those relative equal lows here still, and we did some damage on the upside. So usually the common consensus would be to trade away from a stop hunt, stop rate, right? So if that was a rate on stops here and here, go back, right? Then we would look for something on the opposite side of the spectrum, and the first most obvious one would be those relative equal lows here, right? That would be a level to watch. So I'll stick to this process, and I will consider this as potential draw, instead of chasing higher prices, even if I'm higher time frame bullish, right? So kind of like a measurement for strength or weakness. I'm using this week as this type of indication, and anything below the consecutive encroachment I consider as possibly weak, and that would be possibly constructive to run lower into the sell side and the breaker. I'm not saying that this will deliver here, but I'm willing to watch and see, watch and study the idea here. Okay, so I hope it all makes sense. And they did it at 7:46, so 4 minutes ahead of the macro. They cleared the buy side out. It kinda would be convenient to run the lows here, in my opinion, but that's just me. So we have a short-term high right there. I'm watching that. And let's see. So far steel price is very overlapping and fuzzy. No imbalances really forming. So this is not a price action that's in a rush to get anywhere. Therefore I myself don't want to be in a rush to do like anything with it, especially right now, as I don't necessarily know what they want to do. At this particular moment I do favor to take out the lows, the clean lows, but yeah, it's not nothing in the cards that could land well with that idea so far. Alright, so it's stopped above the short-term high, but only with a wick and closed way lower. And we are still below the consecutive encroachment of that premium wick. But very sloppy price action. Very sloppy so far. So yeah, this price action so far, this session so far, has a lot of the hallmarks that I don't like to engage with. It forms no inefficiencies basically. Since 7 a.m. we are just banging around in a consolidation. Most of the candles are overlapping previous candles ranges, and it's like very poor structure here. Plus they were manipulating it by hand 10 minutes ago, which is also like all the boxes for be careful, all the boxes for like warning signs and like reducing exposure are being checked right now. So that's how it is. And if the pre-market session offers these type of conditions or this type of environment, then I would not touch the opening range at 9:30. Okay, the earliest I would do anything would be after 10 a.m. unless obviously it loosens up and changes here. But with what I saw so far, the 9:30 is probably going to be a mess and a lot of manipulation. So yeah, mark my words, and if I'm wrong you can write me a comment that you don't know anything, the morning session was so clean and I lost it because I didn't trade it because you said so and yeah, blah blah blah. Yeah, I'm just trying to help. Stay solvent, okay? Stay solvent first. All right, let's write it down like this. So let's imagine right now. Let's play devil advocate that I state that price is currently in a low probability environment, which objectively I can state it looking or based on the past hour of trading from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. This was the essence of low probability trading, plus a manual intervention into it also. If that's the case, and let's say price will move somewhere, will offer a run higher or lower off of this, and I wouldn't participate. Look at this. So how they just smash it in 1 second and came back all the way up. Damn it, they are really in there hunting today for some newbies. Aye. So after seeing this, I'm definitely staying out today's reminder of the session. I'll be watching, but I'm staying out. And again, even if it runs anyhow from what it does here, I'm not interested in it. I'm just letting it go, because there is no way I can frame a reasonable risk right now. Plus, they are manipulating it back and forth, up and down. They are literally trying to clear the board, and yeah, see how they could have easily been taking out this relatively close here, but they didn't. Isn't that suspect? So they did a manipulation, but yeah, didn't really take out the sell side here. Like, why would you do that? Then like 20 minutes earlier they did this manipulation here, but took it all the way up here. And look how price is all overlapping. Yeah, that's a leg day. That's a actual leg day here. So yeah, the only thing that I want to preach within these conditions, with the experience that I have, with all that I experienced and saw in the marketplace over the last 9 years, is that these conditions here are dangerous, and if you trade this, then you are most likely going to lose. And why do that? Why do so? If you like, then go ahead, but I want to preach high standards, high quality of engagement with price, following the rules, processes, and different procedures that can help you avoid losing not only your account but also your mind. So this is what it is about. I'm not affiliate, I'm not selling anything, so I really don't have any interest to lie to you, and yeah, I want the best for everyone here. So now let's see if they will actually take out the sell side here, because it looks like that's what they want. That would be logical. Alright, so we got that. That's fine, that's fair. That's great. But again, would I be trading this? Hell no. Yeah, Anastalini. And if that's the case, and we have no opening range gap or it's very small, that's also like a hallmark for problematic or difficult session, right? So far everything I see this session particularly is making or hinting at difficult conditions going into the morning session. And yeah, I hope I'm wrong, but yeah, I might not be. So we've taken sell side here, right there. There is this inefficiency that overlaps with this inversion fair value gap, which now became a reclaimed bearish fair value gap again, because we traded below it on a closing basis. So this is a key area. This is the crossroads where it could trade lower from here, but if it goes above it, it could also be trading higher from it. So we'll see. No Captain Sink, no Captain Sink. You are wonderful. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? There we go. We are back inside of this range, right? It's difficult to expect any reasonable expansion out of this type of price action. Obviously, if they want to take it ultra higher or ultra lower, they can, but that's not something that's really that tradable, in my opinion. Nekobasu-san. Thanks. Thanks. Nice to meet you too. Nice to meet you too. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I was talking about it a while ago, but it's reasonable to see difficulties today after the Monday and Tuesday covering so much of the ground. We might see some slower Wednesday. Watch the PM session though, because usually if the morning session is really like sloppy and this dangerous, where they are trying to like really inspire and kill a lot of people in game, obviously, then the PM session tends to be more clean. Okay, that's kind of like usually how it goes, but obviously that remains to be seen. Alright, so price did trade it above this area in here on a closing basis, so now if it's willing to trade higher for the buy side here, it needs to reject the lower half and stay with the bodies in the upper half. yeah. But by the way, the idea is if you see Phil being there doing his dirty work, playing cards, you don't want to sit with him at the same table. Okay, you want to avoid him. If you see him, you want to avoid him, because this guy is cheating, and you can't win against a cheater. Okay, you can't. That's impossible. If you play fair, you can't win against a cheater, and that's how I look at it here. If I see Phil in the markets doing his thing, I don't want to sit at the table, and that's simple as it is. And I understand that some can like take some pride, and like they have too much of an ego to do that, and they will still want to beat him, but that's not how you win. That's not how you win. All right, so now I'm watching this breaker, if they want to reach down into it. And besides the breaker, we have this sell side here below this low, which might be in play today still. All right, so that was the area here, the clean sell side. It was ran only with weak, on a weak basis, retraced back, and now purged it with the bodies too, and that kind of like makes it, to me, fulfilled its option, its life, kinda. So I'm no longer like interested like into this sell side here. Now the sell side is below this low, so let me take this off. Now the sell side is here, and the only thing that's before that makes sense is the breaker. What I would like to also mention here is a little trick. All right, don't tell anyone, okay? Don't tell anyone. I will show you. You go into the settings, and there is this hidden secret setting. Okay, if you remove the wicks, then you will see only the bodies, right? Okay, do you see anything? Do you see anything on the chart that stands out if I after removing the wicks? This here. Look how clean this is. Oh boy. That's a promised land. Right. Let me annotate it. This relative equal highs buy side on the bodies will act as a great drawn liquidity on the upside at some point. So keep that in mind, okay? Keep that in mind. But shh, don't tell anyone. With the wicks, it looks all like jagged and messy, right? But the bodies, too clean. Right. So we got the breaker here. I will remove this and I will take this off here also. But guys, please, okay? I don't want to go to another streamer and see that trick being utilized, okay? No one knows about it. No one knows about it. It's only us, me and you. Alright, so far the bodies showing nice respect to the high of the breaker. That's fair enough. We did move initially out of this mess, so now I want to see price to stay as clean as possible. I don't want to see too much overlapping within the candles, and I want to move it. I want to see like clean movement. So touching to this discount right here as breaker. What is the opposing side premium ray? The closest one, this CB with a volume imbalance. Include that right there. Okay, so let's see if we can get up into it here. All right, closer to the CB here. Let's see if we can tap into it. So right now we are at this moment, or at this point, where we are trading off of a discount array in form of a bullish breaker, and we are trading into a premium array in form of a CB, sell side imbalance, buy side inefficiency. And now, as we are entering this CB, this is like a moment where two things can happen. We can either trade above it and not use it as premium, but use it as discount. That would be bullish. Or we can respect it as a premium array and probably or potentially offer a lower low into the breaker. Okay, so that's kind of like two ideas, two ways how it could develop in here. And yeah, obviously so far with the information that we see, it favors to make a lower low, because we only tapped politely here, couldn't even close inside of it, and that's generally a signature of weakness. Will that hold up? I don't know. They might inverse it, and that makes it still a low probability. Right, again, trading into this CB for a better measure. I'll add the consecutive encroachment so you can see the level here. So yeah, generally the probabilities would be like this. As long as there are no bodies in the upper half and it's rejecting price from expanding, the probabilities would be greater that we will make a lower low and trade deeper into the breaker. But after we start posting closing prices above the 50% or above it overall, then the probabilities are less likely to see a lower low and more likely to see continuation higher. But again, at this moment it could still do both, right? So it's not high probability. Right, it booked the consecutive encroachment, it went slightly above it, and the bodies are closing near the low. So if it's good, if it's bearish here, if it's willing to move in more cleaner manner, it should be starting offering large down candles to the downside and stretching towards the low here. I'm not saying that this will happen, but that's what I would expect if I were bearish and if the conditions were really clean. Alright, digging again into it. So that's already not the signature I would like to see in price, nonetheless. By the way, have you ever guys had an urge to take a trade? Like real a real feeling inside of you that that you want to open a trade. Just you want to open a trade, regardless. Buying, selling, you just want it. Do you know, guys, how does it feel? Because I felt it sometimes, and I can tell you that if you can defer that urge and say to yourself to just watch the price action and do nothing, it feels very good, very resolving. And yeah, today is like some kind of like a day where we saw a lot of a lot of movement past 2 days, and I'm sure a lot of people are like going into today like with that urge to make it today. Okay, maybe they were hesitant yesterday, maybe they didn't participate yesterday, but today they feel like they will do it, right? And they are met with these type of conditions, okay, and with that urge to trade impulse. That's a blowout day. So yeah, I'm just willing to be the voice of reason and say, sit back, look at it from a different perspective. You don't need to trade today at all. You missed nothing. You probably saved a lot of mental clarity, and you avoided emotional damage. So you did already quite well if you didn't touch it today since 7 a.m. Right, already price spending too much time inside of this SIBI for my liking. That's still problematic, low probability type of signature here, nonetheless. Heading into 8:30. No particular news today as it is at the time, but still that's a time of the day where we might see some volatility, some run on liquidity, and we know sell side is here below this low, minor sell side here, buy side here too clean, and again the buy side here is still, in my opinion, valid. So it could go either way. You see this week here, discount week, if it was bearish it would have no problem closing below it and just losing ground quickly afterwards. But we traded to it once and twice and the body stayed above it, tapping again into this SIBI here and spending even more time inside of this very overlapping consolidation. This is not a very clean and precise price action. These are still high resistance liquidity run conditions, which is low probability by definition. So yeah, and with all of this mess during the pre-market, it doesn't really lend well for the morning session, okay? It doesn't. If you see this type of price action during pre-market, then going into the 9:30 you need to be freaking careful, okay? Because they will be going after people today. And there is a lot of junky public that wants to throw a trade today. So yeah, someone needed to say that, okay? Someone needed to say that, because I know this might be uncomfortable. I know this is not what you wanted to hear. Probably you wanted to hear, okay, buy here, sell here, do that, do this, it will go there, here. Not today, okay? Not today. All right, again, tapping into the CB. That's really like a lot of time being spent inside of this inefficiency. Usually, if it's good, it's like 1, 2, 3 candles and it moves away. Here it spends a lot of time, and that's make it difficult to engage, because you can't really trust PD arrays as well as you would like to, right? This environment also, so as we are in those high resistance liquidity run conditions, right? So let's now talk a little bit about how to or how could you approach it in a better way, okay? So first of all, you still need to know your drawn liquidity first, okay? You need to know that. You need to know what you are aiming for, okay? And let's say you know. If you do know that, then your PD array of choice in high resistance liquidity run conditions would be turtle soup. That's probably the best one in those conditions, and has all of the advantages that you need to work within that. So unless we did closed above this CB, so now I want to see whether it can act as bullish inversion for value gap, okay? And my drawn liquidity would be the bodies here, okay? This is very small and tight range, admittedly. That's like less than 20 handles, so not a lot of range, but that's what I would assume as drawn liquidity. And to see that happen, I would demand a strict respect of the upper half of this inefficiency, okay? So we close above it, the second candle opened, traded to the high, closed higher, so kind of undecisive candle here, but unless I'm watching the next one to maintain that position, okay? And if it's possibly good, and it already proved that the CB didn't want it to sell off, because it could have done it here many times, it didn't. So that's a suggestion that it will want to trade higher nonetheless. And if that's the case, I'm watching here, right? And this is more of like a study, an example, and not something I would still trade. So why wouldn't I trade this? Because I already identified the conditions as low probability, high resistance liquidity run conditions. Price has proven to me that it's tricky, it's manipulated, it's not as precise, and my model is not trading in high resistance liquidity run conditions. Okay, so that's not the conditions that I would like to incur maximum risk. So if I don't want to incur risk with this, then why would I place a trade, right? Just for the banter, just to show then yeah, I was right about this, even though the conditions were like super unfavorable, and 9 out of 10 times I would lose, but that one time I was lucky to get a win, right? And I would champion that. No. That's not what we are doing here, guys. We are mastering the craft here. Mastering our minds, protocols, and yeah, that's what we do. So we traded on this candle here, touched the high of this inversion again, and now it has this long wick. So preferably price would not close below the 50% of that wick. This candle respected that, so here it could maybe run towards the buy side. That would be like ideal type of scenario. Let's watch if it delivers. Alright, acceleration higher at this moment would be welcome, and smashing right on through this buy side. So not only to it, but also above it. Until consecutive encroachment of this week, very reasonable. Best case, this buy side could be revisited here. But I'm probably wrong, okay? I'm probably wrong. So yeah, I'm watching still. Ideal world, down candle here. it should expand higher and clear out the buy side here. That's way too clean on the bodies. So again, let's revisit this whole logic. We traded down to a discount breaker. By the way, we got the buy side here. So now I'm watching the consecutive encroachment. But yeah, we traded down to this breaker inside of a discount of this range. Price rejected the high of the breaker and traded back into this CB, which was logical area. Then I said that this is like a make or break point where it could trade lower and make a lower low, but also it could trade above it, and then the buy side would be most likely. Okay, and what we saw price trade up into it once, second time, third time, fourth time, like spending a lot of time, but failing to offer any reaction lower out of it, right? So it failed to present or provide bearishness. Then price traded above it on a closing basis, and that was the reasoning or protocol where I said if it does that, then I'm no longer interested in this lower low or potential lower low, but I will move my attention to those relative equal highs here. Okay, and now if you backtrack what price did, you can always rewind the stream and like hear what I said, but it did exactly what I was basically outlining within the logic. Okay, even though it's high resistance, even though it's low probability, it did that. So that's encouraging, right? That's encouraging. Imagine if it was like easy day, easy low resistance conditions, right? That would be like taking candy from a baby. That would be so easy. Today, you gotta be careful, but still the logic works, and that was just a proof of concept. So yeah, I hope I will inspire someone to be like very diligent about their adventure with the markets, and to be like careful for the most part, and avoid the conditions that are unfavorable. This was highly unfavorable. This was reasonable, but still in the realm of possible low probability. So that could have easily failed here. And then what could I say to you, right? But yeah, nonetheless, I'm watching now the consecutive encroachment here of this week, whether we can whether any run into that. We did poked into this buy side here, slight close above that, fair enough, and we'll see what we get afterwards. So far we are rejecting back inside of this range here. Again, sell side is below this low, minor sell side, primary sell side. So to consider a lower low here, still we would need to trade all the way below this inversion fair value gap. Okay, that's what would need to be done to like show potential weakness and then the low here and the sell side here would be reasonable, in my opinion. Right now price trades into a small little suspension block right there, volume imbalance at the bottom, volume imbalance at the top. So I'm watching if it can provide any support for price and make a higher high. We still have relative equal wicks here, this two and this one. There is still liquidity resting above it, plus we have the consecutive encroachment of this wick that is also a draw on liquidity. And then going forward, if price would be able to reach this consecutive encroachment level, and if price would be able to go above it, then this would need to be like offering some support to run the buy side liquidity here. Okay, but that's like assuming a lot, and the price action today is not necessarily like very convenient for this type of ideas. So even though this price run from the inversion for VAR gap here to the buy side here on the bodies, not the wicks, the bodies, was reasonably one-sided and reasonably nice in hindsight, look what price does after it reached the buy side here. What a mess, right? All overlapping or sloppy ranges here. So that's basically suggesting that we are still in low probability, and don't get hopped on the goofballs here. Many times they will offer this a little bit of cleaner or a little bit of more sustained one-sided price run inside of high resistance to just, you know, entice people that, oh, okay, this is now, the high resistance is now ended, now it's clean again, now it's nice. And then they go back to the mess. And that's frustrating as hell, bro. That's really annoying. If you are new, then you don't know what the hell is going on. You think like this is broken. But yeah. Okay, I think I said enough. I think, or I hope I walk you through this session as well as possible and didn't inspire you to do anything stupid. Thanks for watching today. That will be it. I will be back tomorrow with another stream at 7 a.m. New York time. If you want to have access to my thoughts real time, Telegram channel is in the description. It's free. That's the only one I have, and I share sometimes my thoughts there. And yeah, thanks for watching. It was a pleasure. Have a nice day and see you hopefully tomorrow. So bye bye.